Okay, so this is our second video. We started doing what God told us to do, which is share the testimony of Him in our union and in our marriage and in our lives. But we began talking about who we used to be. And we began talking about the sins that we committed, which we know are wicked. And so when we started to share that, something crazy happened. And we both felt uncomfortable. And so we had to stop the video and go to God and figure out why. Well, this is why. Because the way we met to the world is sin, and to God is sin. But what God has shown us is that His testimony is in the weakness. And so we don't want to share or brag on the way we met as if there is some glory in sin. There's not. There is no glory in our wickedness at all. We met in adultery. I committed adultery to meet Him. But God used that, and He's still using everything for His glory. And He wants us to share this, which it would bring us shame if it were not covered in the blood of Jesus, and if we were not renewed, new creations in Christ. We are no longer the people we are about to talk to you about. We are no longer them, and that is God that we are not. But we can't leave those people out of the story, because otherwise you won't see
what He's done.
Come on. So this is video 2, and you know, people talk, they share their testimony. We're sharing his, and our testimony is the old people, but it's dead. This is his testimony now. So we're gonna keep the old man short. For both of us, because we don't like the old people. They're dead, but we got to tell how they died. So that you can see how he rose up. Is that right? Okay.
Come on, sister.
No, I'm just making sure that I'm saying what he's once said. I never know.
That's the truth.
So we met, and he worked offshore. And he got salmonella.
And then the night that we were supposed to meet and stuff, didn't happen due to our alcoholism. And
he came in the wrong door. He went to the doctor for salmonella. He came in the wrong door, and that's how we met. I was a patient coordinator at a med spa, and I thought he was really attractive, and I had some girls get his number. We interacted. I went home, and we were gonna meet up, and the night we were gonna meet up, we were both drunk, and it did not happen. Instead, the day we met, the day I met the love of my life, the one that God picked for me. Okay, yes, God picked him for me. God picked him for me. Even in my sin, God picked him for me. The man that God picked for me, instead of us meeting, I went downtown to try to prove that my ex-husband was cheating on me, and I was raped by a bum in Houston. But God, again, in my wickedness, saved me, and He sent an Uber driver as an angel to save my life. At 3 o'clock in the morning in downtown, saved my life. The day I met the man God picked for me, I was raped and almost died. And no one came for me but Jesus. And that still wasn't enough. So then I blocked this man because I thought I was being punished. But God did something else. He showed me the truth about the person I was with, because He did not care that I was raped. He punished me too. And then he showed me the truth about this man. And this man, he was there for me in my sin and my addiction. He loved me through the most difficult pain when everyone else pushed me off, when my addiction increased, when people who said that they cared about me and loved me dropped me off at a Harris County mental hospital, left me there with nothing. This stranger that I had just met, is the only one who called me there because God was in him. God was in him. I'm sorry. This is so passionate to me. And the reason is because he was raised in the world.
Yeah, my entire life.
He was struggling with addiction his whole life. I was raised in religion and in church. I did everything I could right until my self-will and my religion ran out. I was faithful, like the Bible said, for 15 years in a marriage, seeing no victory, praying at the church every day for 4 hours. God, give me the husband you said. Make me love the husband. Please, God, I'll give him back to you. Just give me the husband. And never seeing that promise fulfilled. Because that wasn't his will. That was mine. And then it turns out, again, I don't know nothing about God's will for my life. And it turns out that God can use sin, willful sin, to guide us to him and to who he has for us. He uses all things for the good. And he used my sin and my alcoholism just like he used his to bring us together. And our addiction spun out of control when we got together.
Bad.
It got worse. So bad, because what neither of us knew, but we know now, is the devil wanted to pull us apart. But God wouldn't let that happen at all. The devil wanted to kill us, but God wouldn't let that happen at all. So during our alcoholism,
he did everything to kill us. I'm talking about with self-harm,
man,
tried
I had
suicide,
demons. Never did that in my life.
demons attacking us physically, coming after us. Any way he would send an attack, I'm talking about in the physical, spiritual, mental, any way an attack could come, it came our way. But you know what? Jesus Christ protected us through all of that and still gave us hope in one another when we lost all hope. We had literally nothing.
Man.
We lost all hope.
We
There
lived
was nothing left. We lived in a hotel. We got an apartment together, and we slept on an air mattress for, I think it was like 2 weeks until we could get furniture from her old house.
I went from a wealthy person who had lived in a ministry. I had ministries for God. I was Christian ministries, Christian writers, wealthy woman. All of a sudden, the day I meet the man God ordained for me to be with, the one that was in his will, the day I meet him, started a series of reckoning, of sin. I lost everything. My ex-husband would take my car. He would not allow me to have anything. There was no money. I lost my job because I was an alcoholic, and my boss, I lived with her because I couldn't live anywhere. Couldn't live at that house anymore because I couldn't lie and say, I could not be secretive about my sin. Yeah. So I said, I'm in love with him. Well, I get kicked out and I'm living with my boss, and She finds out I'm drinking at night. She didn't like me drinking, so she fired me. So then I don't have a job. But I have him. You know, I have him. And then during this series of horrible things that we both experienced, all this storm.
After storm.
I had never, ever experienced any of this when I was walking in religion. Ever. And I was in worse sin then. But this just expedited it. My daughter, she tries to kill herself and is in ICU. We're both in our addiction. God uses him again to save me because there was no way in self-will Allison could handle that. The guilt and the shame. I'm going to kill myself. He stays in the parking garage while I'm in the ICU with my daughter because he doesn't want me to die.
Yeah.
Things just got horrible. It was
the worst of the worst anyone could ever go through. I'm not comparing myself to people. I'm just telling you, any disaster that is ever thrown in your life, it was thrown into our life, 100%.
And the demons inside of me, and I didn't know they were demons. I was raised Baptist, independent Baptist, and I was in ministry in a culture that talked about demons, but I didn't understand that I could get them. But I had a lot. I had legions. The demons inside of me were trying to kill everyone. They were trying to kill me. They were trying to kill him. They were trying to kill anyone. And then one day, the demons inside of me decided, we're going to kill her. And so the demons, when somebody wants to die and the demons want you to die, you ain't telling no one.
Yeah.
Those demons aren't going to tell no one you're going to die. And so me and the demons decided that we were going to push him away. And normally this happened as a pattern. We're going to push him away and be wicked. Well.
And I would have left because every time we got in an argument or we were dancing with demons, I would burn off. I would leave and until things got better. And that night that she decided the next morning, Jesus told me in my heart to speak AA knowledge to her, to tell her that there's hope and to get help. And for some reason, even whenever she was saying mean things to get me away from her, Jesus was telling me and just downloading information in me to share to her, telling her that there is hope. There's hope. Let's go to a rehab, get you checked in. There's a way out of this. And even for myself, because I mean, I was drinking, I was the same way. But on that day, he spoke to me and used me to her, and then...
Well, I mean, backing up a little, we are flowing crazy because this is a lot for us.
Yeah.
We don't like to dig up this.
Yeah, it's okay though.
But during our addiction, we would get drunk on the balcony together and just cry. And during that time, he had been to rehab like 8 times. He didn't believe in that. It didn't work for him. He saw his dad. His dad was in recovery for 20 years with AA, and his dad was miserable. He wasn't drinking, but he didn't have nothing he wanted.
Right.
And me, I was raised in religion. I went to Christian school. I was in ministry, all those things. And that God did not work for me, you know, and anyone who had it wasn't walking it, and they weren't there for me anymore. So I had rejected God of what I thought at the time was Bible. But we were sitting one night on our balcony, drunk, and Preston, God through Preston, said, you know, I think that the way that we're gonna make it is church. I'm gonna find God in church, and you're gonna find God in rehab. And we laughed about that. But then that day he's talking about, he used rehab knowledge, which he hated.
Yeah.
But God used that to speak to me. And he said the only way I would agree to go is if I could get drunk. So he got me really drunk.
Yeah, I did.
I thought we were having a party. Then I didn't even know what was happening by
We're
that
having
point.
a party of driving to victory.
Yeah.
As long as I get her in those doors. But I say that, but it was really hard for me because I had to surrender, knowing that whenever you go to treatment and all that, you get sober, you don't want to be with the other person no matter what. And then you have people in your ear that's drawing more division. So it was a huge decision on my end that was very selfless, that I had to surrender her to getting help, and because her life was on the line.
Well, he was afraid.
And I was afraid. I was full of fear.
He was afraid because also he didn't know what was going to happen to me. He knew what had happened to him in rehab, so he had all this knowledge of the good and bad in it.
Yeah.
You know? And so he dropped me off at rehab that night. I was scared to death because I had never been in rehab. And I wrote a letter to God and said a prayer, and I had a roommate there. Her name was Penny, and she knew I was scared, and she was really nice to me and told me a lot of nice stuff. And then she went in the bathroom that night to take a shower and died. She died the first night I was there. So that started a series of crazy events. My first night in rehab, again, the devil didn't stop. Never been to rehab. I was like this good, bougie, together girl in rehab, and my roommate dies. You know? Why would I stay? I have no idea, because I didn't even want to be sober. I didn't think it would work. I didn't. And so I'm telling him this happens. I mean, I can't imagine what was going on in you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to leave, and so I was doing anything and everything, keep her there. I went to go get her flowers. I went to go get her candy, whatever she needed, anything to, a card, anything to light her spirit up.
He was superhero in rehab. But
I was.
You had this process. You couldn't have a phone until like you did
a week or two.
Yeah, you had to do this 3rd step prayer, and so I did what I always did, and that was I copied somebody's book so I could hurry up and get to the 3rd step prayer and get my phone, because I'd already decided, man, this isn't gonna work.
Everyone does that.
It's not gonna work. So I got my phone and did the 3rd step prayer, and he and I are talking, and then all of a sudden one day, nothing special about the day, I'm sitting there and somebody's reading from the big book, and these words penetrated inside my heart. It said, alcoholism equals homesick. As soon as I heard homesick, the Spirit of God fell inside of me, and I could not stop weeping. It was nonstop crying over and over and over again, because my spirit knew I was so homesick. I had wandered 40 years in religion, and I was sick to death in my spirit for God, because I didn't find it in the church. I didn't find it anywhere. I was dying. And in that moment, I found everything I needed. I found home. And it was inside of me the entire time. At that moment, I did not know what that meant, but I didn't need to.
Yeah.
But I was ready to know more about it. And so at that time, I thought it was AA. I thought it was the God of the big book. Because I didn't know. I knew it wasn't the God in the Bible. This felt totally different. And so I started this journey with the God that I found there, the home. And he told me one night, he said, I want you to tell Preston that you're not going to talk to him anymore. Let me tell you something. This was the only person that was there for me. The only real deal Holyfield I ever knew. And God was asking me to tell him without a reason that I could not talk to him anymore. Me and God fought. In the spirit, we wrestled like Jacob did with the angel all night, until finally God said, how free do you want to be? And I screamed out, I want to be free. He said, then surrender. So I woke up the next morning and I was so distraught. And I talked to him on the phone and I told him I could not talk to him anymore. And exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. It killed him.
Yeah, it killed me. I went to the store, got a 6-pack, and off to the races I went. You gotta imagine when you love somebody and they tell you they can't talk to you, man, the amount of fear overwhelms you.
I mean, you probably thought, man, she's got some dude, or she doesn't
Yeah,
like
I thought
me,
she was
or-
talking to somebody else. She doesn't like me. I knew this was gonna happen. I made the biggest mistake taking her there. She's probably talking to her ex-husband again. I had so many irrational thoughts going through my head. So I
It
was
definitely couldn't be God in rehab.
no 100%. So I drank myself that entire day and drank myself. I was trying to kill myself. And I walked to this church and had a gun and I was gonna blow my brains out. And it was behind this wooden fence by this air conditioner. And I know now that Jesus saved me during that, and he appeared to me in the physical. And when I was drunk, I didn't see him. I just know because he told me. And I know he doesn't lie. He's a truth teller, a way maker, a miracle worker, everything. And I was going to blow my brains out. Some reason I went back home. He saved me. He showed me that there's a way out of this. So I went home. Woke up the next day. It was a Sunday. I was like, man, I got to go to church. So I went to church. This first time by myself going to a church. Went to church, and the message was on wrestling with God and surrendering and how Jacob wrestled with the angel. That same message was at church. I didn't know she heard that the day before.
We weren't talking.
We weren't talking at all.
Same message from the same
And
God.
next thing you know, I know Jesus came inside me. And I had my hands up. I didn't care what anyone thought. I was surrendering. I was crying out deep within my soul. Just please help me. And he did help me. And I felt his spirit all inside me. And I was on fire. I was completely broken. And he just showered me with his love, unconditional love, just shower. So I went home. I was so excited. She still wasn't talking to me. I
was getting the same thing he got in AA.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
rehab.
yoo-hoo! I got God.
So, what happened?
You came and told me. We had like
Visitation
Yeah.
from 1 to 4
Yeah.
that Sunday. So it was after church, and I went up there.
And I was so excited to see him. And when he told me that he went to church and that it was the same message that God gave me in AA when I was laying in that bed, it was like an answer for me, like from God saying, man, I just wanted you to trust me and obey me. I told you I was going to take care of him. And yeah, even though everything that you feared that was going to happen did happen to him, I'm still God. I rescued him just like I rescued you. And so I completed rehab. I got out, and then Preston and I started our journey with God. Each different paths. His was that of religion, and mine was of AA, because he did not believe in AA, and I did not believe in religion. And both of us were standing strong in how we found God. You know, so I believed that AA was the true God, and he believed that church was the true God. And so we were finding God on our journey. Finding God. I was die-hard AA big book thumper, and he was die-hard Mercy Gate Church thumper. I'm telling everyone, come to AA, man, the big book. Let me take you through the
I was
steps.
like, man, y'all gotta come to this church. I'm telling you, something happens here. I don't know what it is. But, I mean, in all of this journey, you know, within maybe like 2 weeks, all of a sudden, I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped looking at porn 5, 6, 7 times a day. I stopped just being so angry all the time and frustrated with anything. I was like a light switch. Whenever something's triggered in me, I'm popping off and I'm coming with my wrath. You know, what little wrath us humans have that thinks it's so big. So
he's starting getting healed by Jesus in the church.
Man.
So he feels like the church was the answer.
Right.
And then the same thing that the church, the God of church, was doing in him in AA, I'm seeing it happen in me, and it never happened in church. So I'm like, it's furthering my belief that AA is right. But then we're both confronted with seeing something we don't understand. That's that, okay, church is working for him in ways it never worked for me, and he's seeing me and he's like, hold on, AA's working for her in ways it never worked for me. And so we're both trying to figure out how this is working out.
And in all this, I'm going to court for my 3rd DWI felony. In all of this, paying a lawyer like $20-something thousand for it. I had no ammo to even fight the case, you know? And all of a sudden, I go to court and it's dismissed.
Yeah.
It's totally dismissed.
God dismissed his charges.
God did that. The lawyer didn't do nothing. Preston didn't do nothing.
You didn't deserve that.
I didn't even deserve that because I did it.
Yep. But God said,
I did it.
Free, man.
Man, he dismissed that off my record. Saved me fighting that for years.
Yeah.
Years. Breathalyzer in my car. Ankle monitor that detected alcohol. I'm talking about so many things. Well, the ankle monitor was the previous DWI. I think I've been charged with like 5 DWIs. And I have 2 on my record. And I was fighting my 3rd one. So I've beaten 3. So, you know.
Mean God has.
Yeah. God's beaten 3. And you think that I would not have a problem with alcohol, right? I mean, that many DWIs. No, I didn't. So, anyways, we had that message at church. You got out of rehab. I was delivered from porn. I was delivered from alcohol. Sorry, I had to share that. And then there's so many things.
I mean, God just really started radically working in our lives and in our hearts. And again, we, like so many people, he thought it was church and I thought it was AA. We thought it was an institute.
Yeah.
We thought there was something special about the people, the place, and the things. Because that's where we found God. So it made sense to us. And he ended up getting baptized at church and repenting publicly, which started a new journey for him. And I got baptized as soon as I got out of rehab. And I got my first deliverance, which was insane.
Yes.
And then I thought it was done. Well, we still were not married.
Yeah.
And we were still living in sin. So we did all these things that were led by God to do, but we were still under demonic attack and
Oppression.
influence and all of that. But we didn't know. No one told us.
Yeah, we didn't know. We were definitely, I'm talking about if you go through spiritual attacks, it's insane.
Well, you don't know that it's demons.
You don't know.
You just think you're nuts, or the person is
Yeah.
doing something horrible. You think all these worldly things, and that's what we thought. And so, I mean, I had AA starting to tell me that he was a bad guy and they didn't want me with him. And he had church views thinking that I was a bad person because I was willingly refusing to say that God's word was true. I would tell him, that is the Jesus program. I don't want that. It didn't work for me. That was my stance, because what I had experienced and the God I found, I truly believed was in AA. And he believed the same thing about the God he found in church. And so we ended up getting married because we believed God told us we were living in sin.
Yeah.
I had been married 2 times before. He had never been married. Okay, and so I didn't want to get married, but I knew that God was not going to leave us alone. And so during the demonic attacks, a crazy situation happened. I went to a title company. I was under demonic attack and influence. I had been praising and worshiping God, trying to get this gone, but it wouldn't leave. I walk in a title company. A crazy supernatural thing happens, and I meet this lady, and she calls deliverance on me, and the demons are gone. I drive home to him and tell him about it. It's this amazing thing. I'm still battling getting married, and this lady calls me and said, I had a dream. God told me to give you this exact amount of money. I don't know why, but he said to give you this and you would know what to do with it. The amount of money that God told this lady to give was the amount for a marriage license.
Exact.
Which we did not want to do. You know, he had never been married. And I had been married. I already knew that didn't work for me. But we knew it was God.
Yeah.
And so we got married. And after we got married, I wish I could say that it stopped.
Yeah.
But it actually increased.
It did.
In warfare after we got married. Because it was God's will.
Yeah.
God did it. God paid for our marriage. And I even jokingly said, God, if you want us to get married, you're going to have to pay for it, because I'm not. He did. Preston ended up having to have surgery after being sober and free from addiction.
Yeah, I ended up getting having to get surgery on my neck, have my spinal fused together. And I was sober, and so it was like, hey, Pharmakia, you want to be my best friend? So then the pain pills came. And I'm talking about, I've always been weak to pain pills, but I thought I could do it. You know, now I'm sober from alcohol. I had every excuse in the book to know that I could do it with God, because he delivered me from alcohol. It was just delusional. So I had my surgery. I remember as soon as I woke up out of surgery, I saw my wife, and I was just so happy. I was rejoicing, because I truly thought that I don't know, whenever I was in surgery, I saw God and felt God. And so I started singing this worship song. I was all in the spirit. I was so happy and grateful.
And I was seeing it as victory, because I was so scared. I was still in AA. So I had their beliefs.
Yeah.
And I was so scared, oh man, he's gonna relapse because, you know, he's gonna have to take pain meds, he's gonna relapse, God. But when I saw him in recovery, he was singing Jireh. That was the first thing he was doing, you know, and all the nurses are like, woo! I was like, man, glory to God, man. I really didn't say that then, but I was excited inside. I was like, okay, the God of the Bible is really working for him. He's not God. The God of the Bible is not going to let me down with him. Okay. And then we go home, and I got to see something I had never seen happen in my life, and I would not have believed it unless I saw it. This man went from beautiful, angelic, pure heart and spirit to the moment he took one pain pill, a demon came into his body. And again, I wasn't in the beliefs of the church. I'm in the beliefs of AA. But it's God. So God showed me the demon go in him, and God showed me the demon rise up in him. That demon wanted me dead.
Yeah.
It wanted all the pills.
Yeah.
Get out. I'm going to kill you. This dude had superhuman strength because of that demon.
Yeah.
And I was scared. I could not help him. And so, long story short, the only person that I could get to help him was my dad, who was a deacon, a Baptist, who did not believe in any of all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I called him and I said, Daddy, I need you to come over here and help me with Preston. And that was God.
100%. Because I've always wanted a father. I never had a father, so God used Allison's father in a way to build my relationship